Operation Fir Tree. One of the things that Switzerland is famous for is the fact that ever since the Congress of Vienna in 1815, it has adopted a neutral foreign policy. Whereas most countries seek to protect themselves against foreign aggression by making alliances with other countries, Switzerland has steadily refused to take on any such agreements. As a result, it has managed to avoid involvement in any of Europe's wars. Indeed, the country has sometimes been criticized for prospering during World War II by providing lucrative financial and other services to Nazi Germany. What is less well known, however, is that the country came very close itself to suffering a hostile attack by Germany. Before the war, Hitler often gave out in public that he would respect Switzerland's neutrality. At the same time, though, he did not hide his desire to incorporate all German-speaking people into one Greater Germany. In reality, the dictator deeply despised Switzerland. In private discussion, he often brought up his disgust with the country's multiple languages and peoples. Indeed, he regarded even German-speaking Swiss as mediocre and inferior to other Germans. He also often expressed his desire for the breakup and absorption of Switzerland by neighboring countries, such as Germany, France, and Italy. On the very day that Germany conquered France, the tyrant issued an order to his generals to plan the invasion of Switzerland. The plan was called Operation Fir Tree. In fact, from long before the war, Switzerland foresaw the likelihood of Germany launching an offensive against their country. They appointed a general who set about beefing up their army so as to deter their potential foe from attempting to overpower them. Although the Nazis believed German-speaking Swiss would collaborate with them in the event of an invasion, the Swiss were, in fact, prepared to defy any intruders. Plans were made to evacuate citizens to safe places high in the mountains if Germany launched an attack. The Swiss were also confident that these mountains would form an effective obstacle to the German army. Switzerland's wealth and its geographical position in the center of Europe made it an attractive prize to the Germans. Nonetheless, Hitler still held back from giving the order to attack. To this day, historians are not sure why. It is possible that his advisors emphasized to him just how useful a neutral Switzerland was. On the other hand, they may have become aware of Swiss preparations to obstruct the Germans in the event of a clash, and warned Hitler how potentially hazardous any attempt to invade would be. Whatever the truth, there is no doubt that the history of the Second World War, and thus the modern history of Europe, would have been very different if Operation Fir Tree had been implemented by the Germans.
独立系映画の祭典であるサンダンス映画祭ですが、
The Sundance Film Festival. The Sundance Film Festival, held annually in Park City, Utah, was started in 1978 with the aim of drawing attention to up-and-coming U.S. filmmakers by showing a selection of high-quality independent films. The festival has experienced significant growth despite its small-town location. For some, though, it now seems as if the films are less important than the events surrounding them. As journalist Neil Smith points out, a visit by celebrity socialite Paris Hilton generated more media interest than most of the competition entries put together. Additionally, some critics feel the festival can no longer be justified given the quality of the films shown. The growth of digital video has led to a tenfold increase in submissions since 1993, as it is now easier for new filmmakers to shoot and edit low-budget movies. Former festival director Jeffrey Gilmore acknowledges that the popularity of digital filmmaking has resulted in an increase in low-quality submissions. He insists, however, that the quality of the films actually selected to be shown at the festival has not been affected. The festival also supports independent filmmakers by showing their work on its cable TV channel or by making it available online. Ironically, these moves have prompted the claim that the actual festival has become unnecessary. Despite this, Gilmore maintains that while the Internet will have some influence on the festival, cyberspace won't take over. Many independent filmmakers still prefer to avoid making their films freely available on the Internet, hoping instead that studio executives will spot their work at a festival screening.
スペインにあるリオティント鉱山には2つの大きな特徴があります。
Paying for civilization. In the first millennium BC, the Phoenicians, a powerful Middle Eastern trading civilization, controlled an empire that stretched across the entire Mediterranean region. One reason for the Phoenicians' prosperity was their control of the Rio Tinto copper and silver mines, located in what is now southern Spain. Although mining activity had been carried out there since the Bronze Age, the Phoenicians boosted the mine's output by introducing improved production methods. The silver from the mines was used by the Phoenicians to decorate temples and to pay debts, and it also allowed for the development of a coin-based monetary system in the Mediterranean region. Silver was rare enough to be valuable, but thanks to the Rio Tinto mines' output, there was enough for large-scale coin-making. According to Thomas Schattner, professor of archaeology at the University of Gießen in Germany, without the silver mines of southern Spain, the development of money would have been quite different. After defeating the Phoenicians in 206 BC, the Romans took over the mines and further expanded production of silver for the minting of the denarius, the main coin used throughout the Roman Empire. The Romans used their political expertise to establish a comprehensive system of governance at the mines, which included leasing them to private contractors and managing the thousands of laborers, administrators, and soldiers in the area. Rio Tinto silver proved invaluable to the Romans, helping to fund their army and the vast infrastructure of their empire. At their peak, between AD 70 and 180, the Rio Tinto mines were producing more copper and silver than any other mines in the Roman Empire. After the Romans were driven out of Spain in the 5th century, the Rio Tinto mines fell into a centuries-long decline. In the late 19th century, however, a multinational company took over the mines and once again began to produce large quantities of metals. Mismanagement caused the mines to close in 2001, but another company has now purchased the site, hoping to begin operations anew. Meanwhile, archaeologists have unearthed a number of historically valuable items at the mines, including Bronze Age hammerheads, Phoenician oil lamps, and pieces of Roman pottery. These discoveries have helped provide a more detailed picture of early mining operations and the lives of mine workers from different periods. An unfortunate legacy of the mines, however, is environmental contamination. The two main rivers in the Rio Tinto area are poisoned with heavy metals. In fact, high levels of heavy metals are found in soil and water throughout the region, and scientists have discovered that this pollution can be traced back to the onset of mining around 4,800 years ago. Bernd Lodermoser, an authority on mine pollution, acknowledges mining has damaged the local environment, but says it may have only been a contributing factor. He believes natural features of the region's geology have resulted in the release of heavy metals throughout its history. Lodermoser even suggests the unusually colored soil and water resulting from this pollution may have attracted the very first miners to the region.
教育、心理、
自分の子供
A special child. Hello, Mrs. Brown. Thanks for coming in.
Hello, Mr. Thompson. Has my son been acting up in class again?
Yes, he has. But I think I know why.
Actually, I was thinking of consulting you about him. I've been very worried.
I think Jimmy may be a gifted child. He shows all of the signs. He has a huge vocabulary, he is very talkative, and he shows great creativity in his work.
But if he is so exceptional, why are his grades so bad?
That is very common, unfortunately. The lessons are too easy for him, and so he has lost interest. Meanwhile, he is mentally a teenager, but emotionally just a small child. He intimidates the other children, and so they tend to pick on him. Instead of backing off, he loses his temper.
To be honest, it had crossed my mind before that he might be gifted.
I can assure you that he has singular abilities, and I am optimistic that if we and you try to challenge him more, he will start to settle down.
Still, I don't think I'll tell him what you said. He is conceited enough already.
先生の話を聞くだけの授業と活発な議論が行われる授業。
Participatory education.
What's Professor Jones like, Dave?
Have you heard of the Socratic method?
I think it was touched on in one of my education classes, but I don't really know what it is.
It's the method Professor Jones uses. We sit in a circle, and he asks us questions on various topics and argues with us. He can be quite blunt in his comments. At first, I felt a bit defensive, but now I'm used to it.
That sounds a bit of an ordeal. Does everybody have to talk?
He doesn't compel you to talk, but if you don't answer, he glares at you for a bit before he moves on.
I think I'd die of embarrassment. Is the class popular?
Enrollment is limited to 15 students. There are no assignments, but attendance is very important for your grade.
I think I prefer the anonymity of a big lecture class, where you just listen to the teacher.
But our class is really interesting. It is very cosmopolitan, though everybody is pretty fluent in English. Sometimes arguments erupt, but on the whole, there is an atmosphere of real friendliness. I think Professor Jones is a brilliant educator.
笑いは健康にいいと言われますが、病気の人の中にも笑って生活。
Optimism and health. Generally speaking, an optimistic person will find it easier to make friends and be successful than a pessimist who continually grumbles or is full of apprehension about the future. Recently, scientific research has discovered that optimism provides many health benefits, too. Various studies attest that optimists, for example, have lower blood pressure and are less likely to be prey to heart disease. Even if they are afflicted, they are less likely to suffer from complications following surgery. Does this mean, then, that optimism is good for you? Before we make such a deduction, we face an obvious problem. This is that optimism may be a sign of good health rather than a cause of it. In order to test this point, scientists have recently carried out more elaborate studies of people with frail health or chronic medical conditions. They have found that, even among ill people, optimists take a very different attitude to their condition. Among aging people, for example, some of those with severe illnesses nevertheless continue to take a hearty attitude towards life. What then is the reason? Some researchers believe that it may be biology. Others think that the reasons are more social. Optimists are more apt to lead healthy lives and to comply with their physician's instructions. They are also less likely to indulge in tobacco and alcohol, and more likely to take precautions against becoming ill.
人の微笑みはなぜ様々な意味を持つようになったのでしょうか。
Where did smiling come from? When a human being smiles, it can signify many emotions, from mockery and ridicule to resignation and regret. One of the chief meanings of a smile, though, is to express warmth and friendliness to others. When a dog or a monkey, however, shows its teeth and flattens its ears, the meaning is usually very different. The expression may look like a